it's high time to harvest watermelons, even though it's the 3rd of August, but they are ripe by this time. So today I'm going to weigh the heaviest watermelon, and I suppose it's going to be around 10 kilograms, but we're going to find it out soon. The hardest thing for me this time, because I've never grew such a huge watermelon, was to identify whether it's ripe or not. So there are 3 important things that I judge by. First of all, that's the color. The definition between the green lines should be very distinct, and this line should be whiter, even though it's light green, but I suppose it's going to be ripe. Then the second part is the tail. So the tail should go a little darker at this side, so that's also the sign of the ripeness of it. And the sound. So the sound shouldn't be very, it should be a little bit faint. So the time has come. I've been waiting for this experiment since last spring. We are quite unlucky with watermelons and melons because our climate is not appropriate for big fruits. That's why we picked up one interesting idea from the farmers of our region. So we can use 2 plants here, the pumpkin plant and the watermelon plant. I'm going to use the method of grafting in order to make one plant, which will be the main one, the watermelon, using the root system of the pumpkin plant, which is very extensive and helps to grow big fruits. So first of all, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sow watermelons. Then in 3 days, I'm going to sow the pumpkin and wait for them to become bigger. So the soil is ready, as usual, a standard soil. I was really careful about choosing the soil because lately we are having troubles with the soil because it's kind of a low quality. So we have 5 pumpkin seeds. That's why this experiment will include only 5 plants, and I will choose from every kind of a watermelon. So the next stage is to sow the pumpkin. I'm doing that after 3 days since having planted the seeds of watermelon. So in the package I have 5 seeds, so there will be only 5 grafted plants. I hope everything works out because that's my first experience. And I've already prepared the containers for that. I'm using the usual ones from yogurt, so I find them rather comfortable to sew, so no extra expense in order to buy any sort of containers. And reusing material is my favorite thing. That is my farmer's diary that I keep, where I put all the important things and techniques of gardening every year. This year, I'm trying to experiment with the grafting of watermelons and pumpkins, so I'm putting all the steps in here. I don't know how successful it will be, but I think the data can help me analyze and do better during the next years. By the way, we are having a small sprout in here. That is watermelon because I've planted them earlier. And that is pumpkin. 5 days have passed since planting watermelon, and actually you see that these are different kinds. These two are not hybrids, and 3 of them are hybrids, so it takes more time for them to sprout than for those which are not hybrids. And these 3 seeds were in a blue cover, so probably because of that. Now I understand actually why they say that you need to plant pumpkin a little bit later, like an ideal 3 days later, because 2 days have passed and you see the pumpkin is growing very big, so it can outgrow the watermelon, but surely they have to be of the same size in order to graft them. And that's also pumpkin. That's what's happening to watermelons after 1 week since I planted them. And the pumpkin, that's 3 days since planting them, so they are growing bigger because that's the pumpkin, surely. So I'm going to wait for them to start growing the middle part of the plant, and then I'll start grafting. Here is the progress of pumpkin and watermelons. Just wanted to show you this beautiful ornament that water drops created on the pumpkin. Still, it's not the perfect time to make grafting. That's why I'm still waiting for them to grow a thicker stem than it is now. By the way, we're still having winter outside, and that is very depressing. Here it is, the grafting day. So almost 2 weeks have passed since I planted the pumpkin and watermelons. So you see, I'm going to try only one piece of it. So I will just see how it works because that's something I'm doing for the first time. Oh, the pumpkin is ready for grafting because the stem is rather thick. So I will try not to cut it to the full because that would be a mistake. But the watermelon is a little bit thinner in stem. That's why I have to be really careful about watermelon when I'm about to cut it. So let's try, let's see how it works out. That's the pumpkin and that is watermelon. So even judging by that picture, can you see the difference? Look at the root system of the pumpkin and watermelon. A very poor root system, by the way. But somehow it's holding up. So what we are trying to do is to put the upper side of the watermelon onto the root system of the pumpkin so that the pumpkin would stop grow its top part, and instead would start growing the part of the watermelon. I'm going to use a small box cutter in order to make a cut. So the technique that I will be using is called the ton technique. So that's like ton grafting, because the way I'm going to attach to plants will look like the way of attaching it as if by the way of a ton. So that's something that's called in Russian. I don't know how accurate it will be in English. I've already made a cut in both pumpkin and watermelon, and I was shaking like crazy because for the first time I felt myself like a surgeon doing an operation. I will try to attach them and I will show what will happen. So also during the this attaching process, you have to be really careful. Well, I can't judge, but I think it's working. That's the final result. So I attached them somehow. I don't know how successful I was in that. And I've covered the grafting part so that they could kind of attach to each other. And the point is, what to do right now is that this growing leaf from a watermelon should be remained, but that one growing from a pumpkin should be removed. So that kind of the watermelon grew as a substitution. And when the grafting is successful, the next point is to cut the root of a watermelon so that it could fully get everything necessary from the root system of a pumpkin. Well, more than 1 week have passed. That's the progress so far. I still haven't cut the watermelon from the root, but I've pinched it, and I think in 3 days I'm going to cut the stem. And you see the watermelon started to grow. I'm not sure whether it's taking all the juices from its own root system or from the root system of the pumpkin. We'll figure it out when I'll cut the watermelon from the root. Well, the experiment is successful so far. I've removed the watermelon from the root 2 days ago. First of all, it wasn't feeling pretty well. It was dried out, but maybe because of this, sudden stress it was going through. But then, like after 2 days, it became like this and started growing more. And as you see, the stem of the watermelon, the stem of the watermelon is getting thicker. Like comparing to the yeast part of the stem, the top part is thicker, so it continues to grow. So far so good. We have some other experiments, so I'm going to graft more, but this one is definitely successful, and I'm really happy about this because that was my first try. I was really sure that it's not going to work. And you see the top part of the watermelon is growing higher. The warm bed is ready. We just need to cover it with a layer of soil. So first of all, we have straw here, manure and grass, and you need to water it thoroughly. So that's a basic warm bed. So that's the watermelon patch. So the wrap is used to make the ground warm. That's like perfect conditions for watermelons. And of course, our experimental grafted watermelons. They seem pretty fine. So now we'll try and plant them. This is my biggest pride, watermelon. Look how beautiful. And even though it's like smaller than my palm, but that's already too heavy. Grafting watermelons was one of the most successful projects I've ever made. Filming different stages took approximately 4 months, and I was really patient waiting for the results because I wanted to share with all of you. I'm chuffed at what I have, and I'm going to continue this experiment during the next years. Thank you for watching. If you liked this project, give thumbs up and let's grow watermelons together. See you soon!